Hello and welcome to Lutherans Alive. This is the program that seeks to tell the stories of Lutheran Christians and our ministries here in southwestern Pennsylvania, believing that God is doing wonderful things through us. Today on the program with us is Barb Nugent. Barb, in addition to being an active member of the congregation where I serve at Bethlehem Lutheran, together with her husband Larry, they're both very active members there. She also serves on our Synod Stewardship Committee. But today, Barb is here to talk with us about a ministry called Compassion International.
That's right.
Barb, first of all, welcome to the program today.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about Compassion International and how you yourself got involved.
Well, Compassion International is a child advocacy program that's Christian-based, helping to relieve children from poverty all over the world. And started off as a sponsor. My husband and I sponsored a boy in India, and his name is Deepu, and write letters and communicate with him and see him growing up. We started sponsoring him when he was 11. And Compassion sent me a letter asking if I would be willing to be a volunteer. And I thought, sure, I can hand out brochures. And never realizing how God was changing my life. And after multiple hours of training, needing to come up with my own mission statement, Compassion accepted me as a volunteer. And I have been doing being an advocate for Compassion for about 7 years now, and I am the Western Pennsylvania area coordinator for all the advocates of Compassion, and that's basically helping equipped people to go and talk about compassion and to broaden the ministry and do God's work.
And get the word out about
Absolutely.
a very worthy ministry. And indeed, Compassion does seem to have a very good reputation in terms of the work that they do. Mm-hmm. Certainly there are many worthy ministries, and we all try to make decisions about which ones we get involved in. But some pretty heavy hitters, big names are fans and involved with Compassion International, big contemporary Christian artists like Michael W. Smith, Amy Grant,
Right.
and so Compassion is pretty well known
Mm-hmm.
around our country.
Yeah, you'll never see Compassion advertised on television. They do not want to degrade the children. They believe that people in poverty already feel like they have no worth, and that just exploits it. So they use partners, and there are partners such as the names that you mentioned that will go around and talk about compassion. You may see a magazine advertisement. We advertise in other ways, but it's mainly the people that are advocates that are putting that name out there. And Compassion started in 1952 as a result of the Korean War. And the man that started it was a minister that was serving in Korea and saw the devastation and the children living on the streets because of the war. And that's basically how it started. And the main program that it started and still exists now is child sponsorship. It's a one-on-one. It's partnering a person, one adult or child, with a child in a developing country that Compassion is in. We're in 26 different countries around the world. And right now we have 1.2 million children in our program. And that's in all different types of programs, not just the sponsorships. But last year, 150 children accepted Christ in their life through Compassion. And that's the main focus, is getting Christ out there, letting them know that they are loved. Because poverty is lack of hope. So whether it's physical poverty or social poverty. It's lack of hope. And so what compassion does is gives them that hope so that they can fight the poverty. And it works because no longer do we need to be sponsorships in Korea. Koreans are now sponsoring children. So it does work.
So there is not only the aspect of helping children with their material needs out of their poverty, but there's also a spiritual aspect of it too, in letting these children know that they're loved and that they are cared for by others. There's the letter writing that takes place.
Right.
There is that connection that can be made between the sponsor and the child as well. You talked about the different countries in which compassion is involved. How many countries did you say? About 26 different
countries. Yeah.
What are some of those countries? If you
Well, the countries are in Asia, Africa, and South America and Central America. The biggest, well, I don't even want to say the biggest. I mean, we have a lot of countries. We have India, Sri Lanka, Bolivia, Paraguay, Nicaragua. The way compassion works is through the local church. So the children that are involved in these programs that are through compassion puts on, most of them don't even know the word compassion. And compassion's okay with that. They're not out there to make a name for themselves. They're out there to serve God. And so what they do is they go in, they find a local church, they partner with them, and they say, look, we will give you the money and the resources to have these programs. You pull in the most neediest children, and they come to the church, whether it depends on the church and how big they are and how, what kind of funding they can get outside of even compassion, because once that starts, people are more willing to support the church that maybe are in the area that have money that can do that. So the children go to the church and they learn about Jesus. And they're fed a meal. They're taught hygiene. There's family counseling involved. There's a whole lot of things. When the kids get to junior high, depending on the country, they may get maybe taught a trade that can help supply money to the family to help support the family. And it's one less child in the family that they have to feed. So it helps the family get out of poverty. It exposes them to Christianity. They're not required to be a Christian to be part of this group, but they get the exposure. Not all of them accept Christ. A lot of them do. And it depends on the country, too. They may already be Christians. Some Christians are different in countries than others as far as the way they worship God. But Compassion hires country people, the people local, so that's supplying them with income as well. We don't bring anybody from outside. And then there are college kids in the program called the Learning Development Group that are specially sponsored by someone who wants to take on that initial, that advanced income level. And these are kids that are the cream of the crop in their country. And they're supported to go to college, but they have many requirements to meet. That they're very busy. They're very busy.
Sounds as if a lot of good work is being done. And we'll look forward to hearing more about that as soon as we have this opportunity to take a brief intermission.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome back to Lutherans Alive. We're continuing our conversation with Barb Nugent about her involvement with Compassion International and helping children and young people. Before the last break, we were talking about how Compassion also reaches out to college-age young people, young adults.
Correct.
Could you say a few more things about that?
Yeah, what they do is, unfortunately, because it is a higher cost to sponsor a college student, we don't have enough sponsors, so we have to be very selective on the kids that get into the program. There's about 2,000, say for instance India, because I'm very familiar with India because I went there 2 years ago. 2,000 kids apply to be, we call it LDP, you use acronyms for everything. To be an LDP student, only 200 get accepted. But these are the cream of the crop, the kids that are good in school, good all round, you know, very vibrant, very developed in their faith, and they go to college in their country. The sponsorship pays for their room, their board, all their books, tuition, and then they are given a mentor within their country that they can work with alongside of. All of the LDP students quarterly get together for a retreat for a weekend, and then 2 weeks out of the year they do an extended retreat. Besides that, they are required to volunteer so many hours in a compassion project in their area. And during the time that they're in college, which typically is around 3 years, some countries it's less, some countries it's more, they're not allowed to date. You know, there's a lot of restrictions. These kids are very, very busy. And they, besides their regular college classes, they also have additional classes that Compassion provides for them that develops their faith and develops social skills for them as well. And so it's very intense. And then there are a very few select kids that go beyond that. The Compassion actually sponsors to come to the United States and attend Moody College for the graduate program. And then most of those kids will go back to their own country to continue the work in the country.
And on the other end, the youngest children that Compassion works with are how young?
Child sponsorships run from ages 5 to around 18, depending on the country. The boy that we sponsored in India was 21. So until they're out of what we call high school. So what we were finding is the children were not living to be 5 years old. And so we started a program called our Child Survival Program, which works with expectant moms and mothers of infants up to 5 years of age. And it gives them nutrition, parenting skills, teaches the mothers how to read. That's a big problem. Teaches them a trade. Sometimes the one project I was in India, they had a man come into the project, wanted weavers. And so he paid the moms while their kids were in the project, attending project classes or getting a meal or playing in a safe environment. The mothers would work and they would weave and they would get paid. And so there's all kinds of various types of opportunities that Compassion can open the door for. And a lot of these moms, because they live in poverty, are not exposed to anything. They're illiterate. They don't have any education. And the father's the dominant one in the family, if there is a father in the family. And so they do parenting counseling. They do marriage counseling. They do a lot of things. In countries like India, if women have girl babies, they are convinced by the other mothers to kill the baby. Because even though it's outlawed, they still have the dowry. It's still there. And so for families in poverty, if you have one girl, that's a huge burden on the family to come up with a dowry, because it has to be so many grams of gold, so many household products that the girl has to take away, or she doesn't get accepted to be married. If they have more than one girl, that's just impossible. And so what Compassion does is they counsel them, don't kill your baby. We will help you raise them. And it's working. And then what those moms are learning, they're taking back to their villages and they're teaching with the other moms. They're exposed to Christianity. Whether they accept it or not is up to them. but they are told that they are loved and who created them. And so it's a wonderful program.
They will at the very least know that there were Christians who were kind
Yes.
to them and even offered life-saving help.
Yes.
Literally, in a very literal sense, just to save a life.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You have mentioned your own trip to India. You want to say a few things about that a couple years ago?
Yeah, Compassion offers several trips a year to different countries that they are in. And you can go and visit the child that you sponsor. And so I felt the Spirit leading me to do this in February of 2009. I traveled to India, southern India, and I was gone 2 weeks, although it takes a couple days to travel. I was in India about 10 days, and started off in Bangalore, and we worked in the children's centers. We did like a vacation Bible school, and got the opportunity to see hundreds of Compassion kids. It's just amazing. They are so happy. The country itself was just amazing. It's still got the British decor. The signs were in all British English, and but the infrastructure is just. There's so many people in India. The two cities that I was in are the fourth and fifth largest in the country. So over 7 million people in each of those cities. And the traffic was just incredible. They don't have lanes to drive in. It's just wherever there's a spot, they drive. No directionals. It's just, you've got traffic coming from all sides. It was amazing. Flowers everywhere, and they only get rain 3 months out of the year, and the rest of the year it's a drought. And yet there's no green anywhere but flowers. It was very, very wonderful. The people were very nice, very welcoming. The big government buildings were just beautiful, but when you get out of the city, it's just, it's very dirty. They don't have trash pickups like we do. They don't have trash receptacles. People just throw trash on the ground, and that's what they're used to. That's their custom. So for us, it was a little, wow, but that's the way they are. That's their custom. And if you think about the number of people, it's just going to take them a long time, I think. Finally, we complain about the customer service call that we make is in India, but it's actually created a middle class over there. So people are actually getting income. And people are buying cars and motorbikes, and now they have no place to put them. The roads aren't equipped. But the children in the centers are just happy. Oh my gosh, they are amazing. And they have nothing. I mean, if you think about what we have, they have nothing, and they are happy. They're in a safe place. They get their stomachs filled, and they are taught about Jesus. And it's just humbling, very humbling.
Barb, thanks for what you've shared so far. We're going to take another short break, and we'll have more right after this. Welcome back to Lutherans Alive, and we want to continue to welcome Barb Nugent on the program today, talking about Compassion International and her involvement there and the good work that's being done. Barb, you spoke earlier about partnership with local congregations. Now, Compassion, as I understand it, is not affiliated with any particular denomination or church body, but they, as you say, they do partner with local churches, and are some of them indeed Lutheran churches?
Yes, yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, in India, they have not the ELCA, but the UELCI. But yes, the Lutheran church is there. As a matter of fact, in my research, the first Protestant mission in India was started by 2 Lutherans from Germany in southern India, which is where I was. 20% of the population in southern India are Christians. And there's every church of it, imaginable in there. Compassion serves countries that will allow them to come in where there's an evangelical church present. And so they are non-denominational. They will serve church with any church that is considered an evangelical church. They are very familiar with the ELCA and its mission work, and are trying to partner with them. As a matter of fact, I had a call today updating me on what's going on, and we have decided to get into the countries that we're not in yet. We are partnering with other churches that have missionaries in other countries so that we can help spread the word even more in other ways. But we have lots of programs, like there's a complementary intervention program that works with helping to dig wells. If a child needs an operation, we provide anti-malaria nets. So there's all different kinds of things that we're into now, not just child sponsorships. I wanted to mention about my trip to India. At the end of the trip, I got to meet the boy that we sponsor. Spent the entire day with him. And he was 18 when I got to do this. And I knew if this wasn't going to happen now, it wasn't going to happen, because he was soon to be out of the program, which now he is. He is actually working for the Indian government, which is a wonderful opportunity for him. And he can now support his family. So it's pretty incredible, because when we started sponsoring him, he was a below average student. And I know without compassion, he would not have made it through school. So, so that makes me feel really like I've been able to do something in the world. Yeah.
And now he's supporting his family. And when you say his family, you're talking about his
mom and his
family?
sister and his dad. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
That must have been really neat to meet him.
Yes. He was just learning English. He could write it and he could read it, but to speak it, he was just learning. And he knew that if he wanted to get anywhere, he had to learn English, because that's what they're taught over in India, that they get respect if they know English. And but I got to meet his mother and a woman from the project, and they traveled 18 hours by train to come and meet me. So, and Compassion provided all of that. So it was a special day, very special day.
How would you say that the overall experience of being involved with Compassion, the sponsorship and the trip to India, what sort of effect do you think it has had on you? What kind of mark has it left on your life and on the life of your husband Larry, and what's that done for the Nugents?
Well, even before I got to go to India, being exposed to Compassion made me look at the world differently. No longer were material things as important to me, because I realized how blessed I was. And it also opened my eyes, even though I read the Bible and I go to Bible study and we have classes all the time at church, it just made me realize how much God is asking us, telling us to help the poor. And there are 2,000 Bible verses that refer to helping people in poverty and aliens and people outside of our neck of the woods.
And that our true religion is to care for widows and orphans.
Yep.
And that in the, when all is said and done, it's that Jesus says that as you did it to the least of these, you have also done it to me. There's a very, very clear mandate to care for those in need. And that's what we're supposed to be about, loving God and loving our neighbors.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Thanks so very much, Barb, for all that you've shared on the program today and about the ways that that you've been blessed and that you've been a blessing through the ministry of Compassion International. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks. And thank you for being with us on Lutherans Alive today. And we know that from wherever you are watching, in your community or near your community, there is a Lutheran congregation that would be very pleased to welcome you. I hope you'll come and worship with us, and I hope you'll come and see us next time on Lutherans Alive.